All right. Hello and happy Wednesday. Welcome to DMI Live. I am Baron Capers here representing Digital Media Institute here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Today we are joined by Johnny Boston, 3D artist and animator. Hey Johnny,
Hey,
how you doing?
pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you. So guys, today's demo, we will be going over textures as a follow-up from Friday's demonstration. What I have for you guys is in a package that you can download from our Facebook site. You just follow the link below, and we'll do a quick demonstration of some 2D textures, and we'll get into some Johnny Boston work. Right. So cool. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen right quick and just show you guys how to import a 2D texture in the Photoshop right quick.
Yeah, that's where just that's where all texturing kind of starts. Is just getting a UV map, bringing it into Photoshop, and just kind of mess it.
Your microphone, Johnny. Can you hear me?
Oh, is my mic not on?
Yeah, I can hear you now. All right. Hey, can you see my screen?
Yeah,
All
totally.
right. All right, cool guys. So this is what you'll find in the textures folder. It's like color and textures. These are some examples of textures that we have. A little red texture here, a wicker snake, and a couple of other things in there for you to do. So this is just a black and white example. What you can do with your picture, if you want to make it black and white, just hit Control J. Remember, I'm using Windows keys and hotkeys for the Windows operating system. You can go to Image, go to Adjustments, just go to Hue and Saturation if you want to. There's other easy ways to do it, but this is just something simple too. And it's a way of controlling it. Or you can bring your light levels up, your hues, but we just want to make it black and white. So we'll press OK. I'm going to put this back to 0. Another thing you can do is go to Adjustments and hit Levels and play around with those. We want to get it like the same kind of consistency as our picture. Hit OK. With our Move tool. Move tool is at the top. Remember? Grab that, throw it in. It's on our picture, but we cannot see our picture. Oh no, I'll put our picture in another picture. There we go. Let me get rid of some of these things. And what we can do is just drop our opacity down a little bit so we can see what's underneath. We can press Control T to transform and hold. We don't have to hold down Shift anymore. We can just scale at our leisure. There we go. Awesome. We can bring our opacity back up just a hair, see what's going on. And now that we have a transform function on there, what we can do is go to warp and just warp it to our character's physique. And awesome, because you want to apply a texture, even though it's going to be 2D, you want to make it appear like it has depth and curvature to it to make it appear like it's 3D, hugging on to our character. Yes. And then we hit E for eraser, and we can just erase our stuff. 2, 3, 4.
So, and I don't want to interrupt. I'm
Yeah,
watching
go
the
ahead.
video,
Go ahead.
but
This is what I finished.
like this is you're taking an already like really good drawing, like by itself. Like this is kind of you could just be done with it, and that's what it is. But by bringing it into Photoshop, like you can import textures that are like really high def, and kind of incorporate them into already made drawings. And it's a lot like you could draw those scales out if you wanted to. Um,
Yes,
then you'd be there for like 20 minutes. Um,
exactly.
that's 20 minutes you could have spent like bringing it into 3D or bringing the drawing further. And that's something that really kind of took me a long time to do. Because I don't know, you have that ego, I think, as a student where you're like, no, if I don't do it, like I don't draw it myself, then
Yeah,
it's me. And it's like, well, okay, you can think about it like that, or you can think about it as no, like I'm working smarter here so I can work harder in another area.
exactly. It
Mhm.
saves so much time to just grab a picture, manipulate it, and just drop it in, and bam, you have textures right there. You
Totally.
know, simple as that. And remember, guys, just to save those files, Control S, What? Drop it in there, hit save, and that's it. What? Texture manipulation. Got any comments or anything? We'd be glad to answer. So we're gonna get back to Johnny Boston. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Mm, all right. So tell us about yourself, Johnny.
Yeah, so hello, I'm Johnny Boston. I'm a recent graduate of Digital Media Institute. I just graduated in the very end of 2019, before all the madness happened with the world right now. And really, I was watching the other one about Max, and Max was on a couple weeks ago, and he was saying like, "Oh my gosh, I have all the experience. I have no experience." Let me put that out there. But I will say that this year I've probably, ever since going to Digital Media Institute, I lost my personal life for 3D and for 2D artwork, um, and I loved it. Like before I went to Digital Media Institute, I didn't have a major. I was just going to tech, kind of like I was skipping karate class. Like that's how little I cared,
Yeah.
uh, and I really, I don't know, I didn't really care about my future or anything. I was just kind of like living life. And my mom just told me like over and over for months and months, like, come on, come check out this school. Cause I didn't really do any 3D in high school, any art really. I just kind of, I knew what it was. And I'll talk about it to my mom sometimes. And I didn't want to tour the school because, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. And she finally convinced me. And like from the first tour, I was, hey, like, I think I signed up like the next day. Like it's one of those things where it's like this little golden nugget of just like this art Disneyland hidden in Shreveport.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
out of that, and I'm kind of taking the skills I learned there, and just trying to grow on them. That's kind of where I am right now.
Cool. Yeah. Well, speaking of those skills, I'd like to, for you to show us some of those things you've been working on. Show us those skills, dude. So,
Totally. Okay. So a little bit about me before we get into the fun stuff. How do I share my screen? Here we go.
yeah.
Um, So let me just pull up my ArtStation. So for anyone who doesn't know, ArtStation is kind of like it's like a professional Instagram sort of, it's like your portfolio. This is where you'll find most of my like serious work. Like I have an Instagram with stuff I do for fun.
Yeah, that's
If
cool.
you, yeah, I like it. And primarily what I do for fun is like I like recently I've been getting into creature work. You know, just take for those who don't know, you can sculpt in 3D like with digital clay, um, and then you'll work something like this, and then what we're gonna go over today is how I texture stuff like this, or just kind of how I go about doing that.
Yeah.
So that's that's kind of like my most recent one that I'm most proud of. I have this sculpture of an elephant. It's untextured. That's just kind of, I like animals and I like
Well, that's
putting
pretty
them.
cool. Yeah. I like that. Hey, show us some of your textures then, like the
So
raptor.
so basically what Jaren just did was one way of texture, right? Like that was kind of bringing it into Photoshop and pretty much manually, like like you're kind of you're morely drawing the textures. It's more you're it's just one way of doing it. It's pretty much like you have 100% control. This is a program called Substance Painter, which is what I primarily texture in, and it's what is called a procedural texture, I think is the technical term for it. And it's just kind of it's a much more quicker way of, I think. I don't know if I want to say it's less, challenging and like less hands-on, because like it really is deceptively simple. But
Yeah.
so before I go on a tangent, um,
Hey,
it,
let's. Yeah, that's the model looks really cool. Let's look at that. I like that.
yes. So I'm I'm pretty proud of it. I think we were talking about this before we went live, but I kind of did this in like a haze one night, like in 4 hours. I hadn't sculpted in a while, and I saw this a dinosaur on ArtStation. I was like, oh, I want to do something like that, and I just
Right.
woke up the next morning like, oh,
Well, you
that's
never know when inspiration is going to hit you. You know. So
Like that's how the best stuff gets done is when you have the idea and 12 hours later you're like,
that's right.
I have it. But yeah, so pretty much looking at this, it's a lot to take in, I think. And you're like, okay, well, especially I don't really know how to start doing it. So the way Substance works is the most simple way of thinking about it is like in Photoshop, you have the layers, right? So like you
Exactly.
have this base layer and you're like, I want to add a dog. So you add a layer and you put a picture of a dog. It's just that iterative process. Substance is pretty much the same thing. It's layer based. So if I turn off, here, I actually think I'm in, no. So if I turn off a lot of these layers, you'll see it kind of slowly start to deconstruct itself. And it's
Right.
eventually become this white thing if Substance doesn't crash on me. Here.
Yeah. You have to take your time with it because
Yeah, that's the great thing about these textures is about these texture programs is they're really awesome, but they will poop on you. Yeah. So one thing you'll notice is that the eye isn't changing, and that's because Substance. These are two different objects, right? His head and his eye, and right now we're only his head. So that's just if you were wondering what's happening. So yeah, we have this really. It's a cool model. I like it, but it's really boring to look at. Like if you saw this on Jurassic Park, you'd be like, well, that sucks. So what you can do is first, what I like to do is I think of like, okay, what's the color that's going to be underneath everything, right? Just in my head. And the way I think about that is, you think of a raptor. What do you think of? You think of like this cool scale pattern, this little chest belly. And so
yeah, I do. I think of like spikes, things that are coming out, rugged skin,
yeah.
Scaly. Did you do the texturing on the model itself? You know,
So
that's really cool too and very intricate.
So that's the thing too. I could have made this completely smooth, right? It could have been just a smooth model, and I could have gotten something similar, just because of the way that Substance works. You can literally like you're working with color, but you're not just working with color. You're working with texture. Like you can really change the way the surface breaks up in these programs. And that's just how I decided to do it. Just real quick, I can pull up his actual texture file, and you can, or his ZBrush file, my bad, and you can see like it is part of the geometry. That's all like the way the skin breaks up.
Oh, look at those lips.
You know what? I don't like his lips. Recently, I mentioned earlier, I've been working on a personal thing. Yeah, yeah, really sharp. I don't.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, so that's we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so real quick, basically, it's just it's an process. Like if anyone, you ever drawn something, that like you build stuff up slowly. It's do it all in go. So yeah, so it was like I kind of knew from the beginning that I wanted him to be red and really intimidating. So I gave him that sort of like red. Here I have my mouse. I gave him this kind of red pattern that goes, and I did this arbitrarily, like I could have had the red cover his mouth instead, and that would have just been the style. There's no right way to do anything, especially with a creature like a dinosaur.
Exactly.
Do we know what they look like?
Like no one. It's completely up to your imagination.
Exactly. That's why I like dinosaurs. Yeah. So then I just, I wanted to, like, this is cool, but it's very basic. So I go through and I just start to add, like grungy details. Like I gave him specks on the eye to break up the skin. I gave him, this is kind of like his defining feature. I think the inspiration from this, if I remember right, is there's this frog in the Amazon.
Yes, the poison tree frog.
Yeah, we've all seen that kind of like spotted frog thing. And I liked it. I thought it looked cool. Yeah, so I incorporated it into my raptor.
That's right. He looks aggressive. He could be poisonous to the touch if somebody was to bite him or try to touch him. I don't know.
That's the thing too. Is like it's kind of it's one of those lame things that I do, but like you get attached to these. Like I worked on this thing for like 6 hours. You can't help but like put a personality into it,
Yes.
When you're in the middle of thinking it. Yeah, and that's how I in my head, like this is not a friendly dinosaur that you go like, oh, look, this is not Barney, like
not at all. He could be poisonous, Barney.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, we only have half an hour. We can move on to other things.
Yeah.
But
So show us something. Show us something else. And how would one start modeling out in ZBrush? You
okay,
know,
you
if
want
you
to
want
move?
to start doing that.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so for those of you who don't know, like I said earlier, you can sculpt in a 3D package, and uh, for me, that was really kind of the point where I was at DMI for maybe like a couple months, and I didn't know what it was. If any of you have any experience in 3D programs, you know what traditional modeling is. And I saw these like amazing sculptures on ArtStation, and just like on the internet, and I was like, oh my gosh, like how do people do that? I can never model that. And Max, who was on, he was kind of like, no, Johnny, that's this program. He showed me ZBrush, and I think I started sculpting, and I bought the full program like a month later. I love ZBrush, like it is insane. So
Yeah, it's pretty
I'll show
cool.
you.
Show us some stuff. Get in there and sculpt.
This is kind of a high fidelity model. Like this is kind of near the end stage. But what we can do is I'll start out with a pretty basic sphere, and I'll show you. I obviously can't bring it to a full dinosaur in about 10 minutes, but I'll do my very best.
Oh, just
Um,
just show us what you can do, bro.
so
How many polygons is that spear?
yeah, so when you bring us, all
Oh, that is
3D
pretty dense.
stuff are groups of these little squares called polygons combining to make in the way they're organized. And how many of those polygons is basically that describes how much detail you can get. So that raptor had like, I think, yeah, 6.28 million polygons.
That's right. That's
That's
a
a lot.
lot.
But ZBrush is amazing as a miracle program and can handle that stuff. And this little thing I have right here only has like, which is nothing, but is more than enough for what we need right now. Because what I like to do first before I do anything is just start to, drag it out. Literally, you got to think of it like you're actually working with clay. And so what we'll do, we'll make a little ugly face real quick, is, drag out the chin area, maybe give a little bit of forehead. All heads are pretty much just 2 eggs, making like a crooked T pose, if that makes sense. That's how I like to think about it. So it's gonna be really ugly because I'm doing it quick, but we build out this basic form. We can move. That's the thing too. All these different things are called brushes in ZBrush, and that's basically the way that you build polygons on top of each other. It's kind of complicated to get into, but you'll see. Like the move brush moves. The clay buildup brush, it's like you're actually working with clay. You build forms on. And so we'll just really quickly, drag out the neck. It's gonna be really ugly, but it's okay.
That's like a mushroom.
So okay, so obviously this already is looking like a little doofy alien guy to me. We're gonna go for that because if it looks bad, I can say, well, that's what he's supposed to look like.
There we go.
So we can start to cut in basic, shapes of the eye. We can start to build in where.
So how are you doing it on both sides at the same time?
Definitely. Okay, so what you do is so for anyone, I'm using a Wacom tablet. It's a drawing tablet. I'm just pressing on. I'm just drawing basically. Like I'm not doing anything, and it's building up. If I hold the Alt key, digs into the surface. Okay. And really like that's it. Like you could do everything with ZBrush with this brush and those 2 buttons, or like just those, on and off. Everything else is just like ease of access. Like that's the way I like to think about it, right? So that being said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stick to my word and I'll use these though. So we can build up this little nose right here, and a little trick if anyone does sculpt. One, I can't remember. It was a streamer who kind of talked about how to start digging in the mouth. And a good tip, I think, is to build up the form of the mouth. Like this little this silhouette kind of. And I'm pressing V way to switch between my colors to get the silhouette. This kind of like shape of the mouth. And then if Control D, I can go up a subdivision level, which basically gives me more polygons to work with, so I can get more nice detail. And I can start to cut into that shape and give him a little doofy smile.
There you go. It looks nice.
And start to give him, and I can do something like that. Bring it out a little bit. I don't want his nose to be too human because this is more of a design thing, but like I'm making something that's not humanoid, right? Or it's humanoid, but it's not human.
Yeah, I think you're doing good.
Yeah, but I want it to be very clear that this thing's not a human, because if I make it human like and it's not human enough, it'll start to just look really weird. And it's something called the uncanny valley. I know it's terrible. I'm sure you've all heard of it. Like something that kind of looks, so the more stylized your character is, the less likely you're gonna fall into that uncanny valley area. That's just something to keep in mind. And I'm getting kind of fixated on the nose, which I shouldn't. So I'm gonna move on. That's the thing with sculpting. Like, it's really this for like 6 hours.
Like the textures around the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and then if I were to do this, like, if I decided like, okay, I like this, even the piece of garbage, I'd move up to my next subdivision level, so I get more. The way to think about it in ZBrush is you start out really simple, low subdivision, so it's easy to like drag stuff around, and you're not getting like weird texture issues from your brush strokes.
Yes.
You're okay with it, you've done all you can, you go up to the next subdivision level, and then you like start doing more detail.
Right.
So the best way to
layers, you're working on layers again, just like in Photoshop.
It really is just like, and you know what? I don't want to go into it really because it's kind of a technical thing. But with Z, you can literally work in layers. I don't know if it's in ZBrush Core, which is kind of like the demo version. I have ZBrush Full, but what you can do is you can press this button, and I'm recording a layer, and I can we can start to give them horns or something. And I'm not gonna dynamesh it out here.
That's looking pretty sweet. Look at that.
Yeah, we can just give them like little doofy ears or whatever. And let's say like, I hate those ears, they're disgusting. Just turn that layer off. Or you can actually like really exaggerate the layer, and that's a whole other thing. But what I can do, if I know how to do it right, is just do that.
That's pretty cool.
So that's an interesting thing. And for those of you who have ZBrush, all I did was I went to layers, I pressed this record button, and I can do it again. And it basically all it does is it keeps track of your brush strokes, and then when you're done, you can turn it off. You can turn it on and on. But you can also, this is something I do a lot. Like I mentioned earlier, but in my free time, I'm sculpting like a full dragon, right? And a big part of that is early in the design stage, you're just playing with these ideas. So if I get, for instance, let's say I like the way his weird, gross ears are bulging out right here, but I don't want them to bulge out so much, I can just turn the slider down. I can, I think I can even enter custom numbers. So I put like a 2 right here. That's not enough. I think maybe like a 500. Okay, I can't do custom. Never mind. But yeah, like you get the point. It's just kind of it's a very
it's a different way to manipulate like another feature on your model. So that's super cool.
And like, you do that enough, and you'll end up with something like this elephant or like raptor head. And this skull was so this was sculpted as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it can really like it's one of those things you put in earbuds and you just do it. Like
just do it. Right. Yes, right.
So yeah.
Focus and attention that has to be required to do this.
Definitely. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. It's like 2 minutes, but I don't want to spend any more time. We need to. But on my ArtStation, plug, and my YouTube, there's a speed sculpt of me just doing a dingo.
That's right. Show us your stuff. That's why you're here.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, zebra, and then like this T-Rex too. Just all sculpture fun. It's really funny. So the school's director, John Morales, I remember he saw this. I think this was the first sculpt I was proud of. You know, like even now I'm looking back on it and it's whatever. But at the time I was like, wow, I did this thing. And I showed him and he was like, okay, you print it. And I was like, what? So we 3D printed it. I had this little I had somewhere we moved, so I don't know where it is. But I have
That's cool.
I mean I have it in a truck. No. But I had this little plastic toy and I loved it. And I was like sitting there playing with it and he walked behind me and he's like, congratulations, Johnny, you spent like 800 hours in a computer lab, thousands of dollars on school, and you have a 39-cent child's toy in your
Right. But you're proud of that child's toy.
Yeah, I was. It's my child's toy.
That's something from your creation.
Speaking of child's toys, great segue. We can talk about TiVo, who is
right.
kind of he was my first. We'll do this. He was my first. So one thing about me personally, it's you'll notice I don't have a whole lot of like environments. You know, I don't get me wrong. Like I love all forms of 3D art. It's kind of I could do it all day, but the vast majority of stuff I do is like character work, right?
That's right, man. You have to be yourself, you know.
Yeah, like that's kind of the path I'm going down. Is I either a character artist or creature artist, or you know, maybe a character animator. But anyway, TiVo was kind of first attempt at that this year. And by the way, people who are watching who are thinking the Institute and they don't know, I did all this stuff in the computer lab. You know, like none of this stuff would have been possible if I didn't have Digital Media Institute. I'm not gonna, you know, just a little plug for the school. Like, you know, this is stuff I kind of wanted to do for a while, and you can teach yourself this stuff if you really want, but trust me, it is a whole lot harder if you don't have like a group of people who like really support. That's one thing, you know, who know what you want to do, who see that you're passionate about it, and will really like push you to do it. Like Max earlier, he was on. Max was pretty much like 60% of what I know is me going, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out. I'm gonna give up. And then Max going like, no, press this button. And I'm like,
that's all you have to do, man. Yeah. Yeah, the support, that's what you need. And we have to support each other, especially, you know, with your education, you know, it's so important.
Definitely, yeah. And that's the thing too, like, so when I started Digital Media Institute, and I'm sure in the live stream is very choppy and slow, the smoother go station.
Yes, but yeah, this was done in Maya and rendered in Maya, right? Or what?
Yes. So this is all in Maya with the Arnold render. All the substances are done in Substance Painter. But like, guys, like this wasn't even ZBrush. Like these are all traditional modeling. Like the thing about TiVo is I think I like him. I think he's aesthetically pleasing. But dude, he's so easy. Like I have his model pulled up. I think I have his Substance Panel file pulled up. No, I have a different rig pulled up. Anyway, but he's like super simple to model, right?
Yeah, he's all hard surface. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So much personality on him.
I like, you know, it's funny. A lot of people see TiVo that I know and they're like, oh wow, he's like Wally. Don't be wrong, I love Wally so much. That's definitely a part that inspired
TiVo. I get inspired, man. But yeah.
When I was making TiVo, I said earlier how you kind of put personality into your characters. I saw TiVo as being like an evil robot. You know, like he just kind of
innocent and sweet to me.
he turned into that because everyone said like, oh, he's so sweet, and I was like, okay, I'll make him sweet. But in my head, Sparks is our mascot, who was made by Cameron Nichols, who is like probably one of the best, most talented people I've ever met. I love him.
That's awesome.
He's actually made this rig that I'll talk about. Well, he made the model and I textured and rigged it. We worked on it together. But his mascot or his robot mascot Sparks. And when I made TiVo,
hey, John, we're out of time right now, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, we're gonna get into it. Hey, thank you, John, for sharing your stuff and being our guest here today, man. We really, really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, sorry I went on so many tangents.
No, no, no. It was great. Great. You got to talk about your stuff, and you got to explore and share all of the experiences that you had. And I really appreciate you doing that. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm glad we had this opportunity.
definitely.
Yeah. So hey guys, check Johnny Boston out at ArtStation. That's ArtStation/Johnny Boston. Show them, and we'll link it up to our Facebook page for DMI Live. This has been Baron Capers here for DMI Live. Thank you once again, and happy Wednesday, and we'll see you guys Friday. See you, Johnny.
See you later.